And I've been really closely following this story. I'm going to share a little bit about it from NPR. This is a sensitive topic. We're going to be talking about abortion rights and death. So if that is triggering to anybody, I just wanted to put that out there first. But this story, Desmond, has me feeling all the feels. And I'm curious what you think of it. So this was from NPR earlier today, and I've been following it closely for updates because there's been some conflicting report about what's going on currently, but this is the most updated information that I have. So if any of you are watching and you have anything else to update, please let us know. So this says a brain dead woman's pregnancy is raising questions about Georgia's abortion laws. Adriana Smith, a 30-year-old nurse and mother, was about 9 weeks pregnant in February when doctors declared her brain dead after she suffered a medical emergency. This is a tragedy. Smith's mother, April, told a local Atlanta station that the doctors at Emory University Hospital have been keeping her organs functioning since then until the fetus can be delivered, citing Georgia's law banning most abortions after fetal cardiac activity can be detected, which is an electrical pulse, or roughly about 6 weeks into pregnancy. She has been left in this vegetative state as basically an incubator for more than 90 days. Her body is actively decaying. I mean, she is brain dead. This to me is an aberration. And this is sad too. This is what the mother said. This poor mother, to deal with this, she said, my grandson may be blind, not able to walk, and we don't even know if he'll live once he is delivered. And she said, I'm not saying we would have chosen to terminate her pregnancy, but we should have had a choice. And so now this is turning into a huge legal battle about who actually has the right over the body. Right. And in particular, women's bodies, and in particular, birthing people's bodies. And this struck such a chord in me because, to me, the lack of dignity that this person is being given, being forced to physically stay alive in order to salvage a fetus.
Yeah.
For what? Like, I really don't understand what we're doing. And what really bothered me about all of it is that the law, you're going to love what it's called. It's called the Life Act. And it was narrowly passed and signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp in 2019, but it was not it wasn't enforced until Roe v. Wade fell in 22. And so once again, we have to remember that elections matter. And to your point earlier, sometimes we need to focus on what is going to do the least harm and what is going to do the most harm. And then if we go all the way back to the beginning of our conversation around bodies and autonomy and who has the right to exploit, the state should not be in charge here with this situation. This should be between this grieving family and medical licensed professionals who provide options for the most humane way of dealing with this incredibly abhorrent situation. So I was just, every level of me was just screaming about this.
Yeah. God, it feels like I don't know. There's a conflicting place for me to be right now in the sense of should I even be speaking on this issue? I'd never be able to give birth, you know, and I feel like maybe more men should be adopting this feeling, you know, to where how much should we be interjecting ourselves into a conversation that we can never really be a part of, you know, I'll never be able to give birth. And so but I think too many people who are men in this country have decided to take it upon themselves to legislate these things and say that we actually are going to come down to be the arbiters of what is okay and what's not okay, even though this will never be something that we will ever experience in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And for me, I have heard this, you know, abortion is the one topic to where when I hear the arguments in reverse, I understand why some people feel the way that they do. You know, I just don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that I've heard some pro-life arguments where people will get, very passionate about why they feel the way they feel about,
Sure.
a child, is it a child? At what point is it a child? People get into the religion about it, so on and so forth. I've always fallen into the exact same place with these things. I fell into these places, and maybe this might be controversial for people to hear me say who are on the left, but I felt the same way about, vaccine mandates. I feel the same
Mm-hmm.
way about abortion. I feel the same way about people who are trans getting their hormone therapy, or is there getting any like any kind of gender conforming surgeries. It is your body, and you should
Mm-hmm.
be able to do what you see fit with it. And I do not think that the state has any right to be interfering in this in any way, shape, or form. I just don't. It is a really straightforward position for me. I
Mm-hmm.
think that any decision that involves you or your body should come down to yourself, your family, your doctors, the end. And every time that the government tries to get involved with that, I just think that it's an overreach. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. At the end of the day, like, I just do not think that there's any place for them to be getting involved, saying like you should be doing with your body. And I don't understand people who feel differently than that. I mean, I hear them, I understand their arguments, but I do not agree.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the slightest, Natalie. I really don't. But I feel
Yeah.
like, if anything, I want to be hearing more of your opinion on this story,
Mm.
because I feel like my opinion is just not as relevant here right now.
No, I think your opinion is very relevant. And I actually think it's really important that we have men speaking up because, to your point, it's like we've gone so far from trusting women with their own and birthing people with their own bodily decisions, right? That I think we do need allies from people that can't give birth to also stand with us, not in front of us, but with us in these conversations. And in particular, you were talking about other things, mandates on vaccines, et cetera. I think we'd probably differ slightly there, not as probably
Mm-hmm.
far apart as you would think. But with me in particular, the way I look at it is, I can't get pregnant from it being in the air, right? It
No.
has to happen to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't figured out that immaculate conception angle yet.
It's called a vasectomy.
Well, there you go. Well, that's true. That's true. And so I think when we're talking about it is happening to someone and it is only happening to them and it can't,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it doesn't spread through the air. They are not equivalencies. So I'll speak only to the topic that we're discussing, which right now is this discussion around this woman and her vegetative state. And I always go back to this argument of corpses in this country have more rights than the female body, right? I mean, I can't say to you, well, somebody needs those eyes. You have to give me your eyes. Like, somebody needs them. Like, you'll be okay, but like, they need them. Or you have 2 kidneys. Well, my friend needs one. You have to give me one. You can't do that. I can't even do that after a person is dead. You can't just harvest somebody's organs. And so I find it really interesting that you have to mark these boxes and check these things when you go to get a license or whatever, that you're willing to be an organ donor, because we respect the body in those spaces that much. But when it comes to autonomy over women and who gets to be in charge of us, it's never us. Like, we would never have these kinds of conversations if it was reversed, because we have our media also looks at women as just things to talk about, things for sale. I was reading an article today in, one of the tabloids, and it was like, one of those, let's rate her bikini body or whatever, it's always, it's just always about conversation around the female anatomy, the feminine energy. And of course, it's always put into a derogatory place. And I mean, God, I could go on for hours around thoughts I have on what it is to be a woman in the United States. But at the heart of all of it, I think what it really has always come down to me for is the freedom to dictate my life and the direction of my destiny. And what do I want out of being here? And I can't do that if I am forced to be pregnant, which is also considered a crime against humanity, forced pregnancy, when we
Yeah.
look at it from international law, but we force pregnancy on women here all the time. And so I think we really have to look at this from a value systems perspective. And I've done a lot of reading lately around indigenous practices around pregnancy and abortion, Jewish practices around pregnancy and abortion, and they hold it in a very different space than the Christians do. And it's looked at as a sacred part of the feminine experience. And it's really not to be discussed in a way that it's up for debate. It's just a part of the experience of being in these bodies. And I think we've really detached from that, and we've allowed people ownership over that for so long now that it has become almost shocking when a woman says, I don't consent. It's like, what do you mean? And that's what kind of breaks my heart. But I just feel so sorry for this poor person who is, unable to cross over to the other side and is forced to stay here as an incubator, and who may give birth to a child that will never now have the life that it could have had she been with them. So it's just, wow, it's really heavy. And I don't understand where the Christians or people that backed this bill, I don't understand how they can say they're in support of what's happening right now.
I don't understand it either. But
Yeah,
then again, I don't really understand the time that we're living in. I
I
mean,
know.
so many things have been normalized in the last, just 5 years,
Yeah,
that if you were to have this conversation 15 years ago, people would think that you're talking about some like dystopian reality. But when we are talking about a Republican Party that has dragged this country so far backwards, with so many different
hmm,
decisions that they've made. We're talking about this right now with abortion bans. We're also talking about rolling back child labor laws. We are talking about teaching election denialism in schools, to
yeah.
which I will have to be getting into that more another day. What's happening in Oklahoma right now? I mean, you have someone like Robert F. Kennedy heading the Department of what, Health and Human Services. I mean, the
Whew.
list goes on and on and on. Elon Musk and Doge. It is just so just pervasive, Natalie. Just how
Yeah,
many different things we are seeing from the Republican Party that have broken every single norm, dragging the country backwards into places that we never thought we would go to again or ever go to at all. I mean, I all the time just am really thankful for the work that like we are doing and that other people are doing in this space, because I think it's more important now than ever that people
yeah,
are speaking up against what's happening right now, because the less that we see that, the more that this is normalized, the more permanent it
that's
becomes.
it.
Like that's really the crux of all of it for me, is because if we are silent about this, if we do not speak up about it, if we are not pushing back against it, it just will continue. It
Yeah,
won't just stay where it's at, it will increase. And I
yeah,
think that that's the takeaway that I constantly want to like tell people when we're having these conversations, is you can't normalize this by being silent. If you are doing that, you are allowing it to fester. And I think
yeah,
people get a little hopeless sometimes. They think, I can't do anything about this. I don't know what to say. I don't know like how to protest. I'm just so tired. And I get all of that. But the answer can't be nothing.
mm.
It can't be nothing. That
It
cannot be the answer.
it absolutely can't. And I appreciate everything that you shared. And before we wrap this topic up,
Yeah.
I was looking down because I wanted to add one thing.
Okay.
Um, I believe, and I looked up who this woman was, Adriana, and I believe she is Black.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, that also just to me adds another layer to this as well, because we know um, everything is a lattice, right? All of these different isms, racism, sexism, how they feed into these conversations. And so the idea that this woman and this Black woman cannot consent to what is happening to her body just really harkens back to a lot of things that have happened in the history of this country. And it just further disgusts me, the degradation that we are allowing women, and in particular women of color, to endure over and over and over again. And so um, I don't see a way forward here unless we start truly repealing all of these horrific laws and actually centering the sanctity of life that we have right here through laws like, improving our housing opportunities, creating more affordable housing, having universal health care, having paid leave for all, having childcare, having higher education that's paid for. Like, these are the things that, what is this called? The Life Act should actually be in support of, and not about an electrical pulse giving them carte blanche to desecrate bodies, basically.
Look, we know it's all a farce at the end of the day. The Republicans have never been pro-life. If they were pro-life, they would be enacting all the things that you were talking about. I mean, like,
and that's just scratching the surface, right?
That's just scratching the surface. I mean, if you were actually the Christian that you claim to be, you would actually, I don't know, embody the teachings of Christ. But here we are. So no, it's all a joke to me. It's always about control. It's always about, they want to increase the birth rates because, like, hey, I mean, you want to have more workers, as you're seeing
that's
here.
Right.
I mean, it's so I can't get over it now. We have to cover the child labor laws.
Like, no, we have to.
That's what I think about every time I hear about, like, oh, we're trying to protect the children, we're so pro-life. And it's like, oh, that's fantastic. You're so pro-life as you're cutting Medicaid and rolling back child labor laws. And every time, that's exactly where my mind goes in these conversations. Every time.
Well, and that's and I know, and thank you to everybody who joined us. I know this got heavy, but I think it was a really important conversation, and we are living in extraordinary times. And I think the only way to meet the moment is to be willing to have very uncomfortable, hard conversations and do it through a lens of compassion and, community love, because this is not a one and done fix. I keep hearing from a lot of my friends, well, when the Democrats get in 4 years, they'll just undo all of this. That's not how any of this is going to work.
They didn't do it last time.
They didn't do it last time, but also
they had the trifecta.
They did. And the harm that has been caused is not going to be these quick fixes. There are people, like we were just pointing out, that are dying, that are imprisoned, that are going through trauma. But beyond that, just on the collective level, so many people are in need of real reform. And so when we're thinking about the topics that we like to share through this show, I think it's important that we recognize that there are always things that we can do and be a part of. To Desmond's point, don't fall into despair. Get involved with a local organization in your own backyard, even if it's just one thing, one topic, one day a week or a month, something that you can do to plug in, because no one is coming to save us. Like, it is going to be us saving each other. And I think we're going to just all have to get used to rolling up our sleeves a little bit more than previous generations had to in that way.
Yeah. Could not agree more. Natalie, thank you so much for being here with me. I really do appreciate it. If anyone is not following Natalie already, you can do so by clicking the top of the screen. Go ahead and follow her on Substack. If you're watching the playback, go ahead and subscribe to her. We will have some links in the episode description. You will see her links for Substack, Instagram, hopefully a YouTube channel in the not too distant future. Natalie.
Yes, it's going to be coming soon. I'm working on it. Okay. Mostly from you.
Doing my best over here. We will be back on Friday.
Yes.
With at least 4 topics, possibly 5. It depends on how much I can talk Natalie into staying later. We'll just see what her schedule looks like. So we will have at least 4, though, for you on Friday. We will see everyone then. And hopefully can talk Natalie into doing like 2 of these a week going forward in the future, too. We'll see.
I love it.
Time will tell. Time will tell. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.